we're going to have a deal with China.
It's hard to analyze President Trump's actions. He's so erratic and volatile, but one good measure is his rhetoric. That gives you an idea about where he stands. On his so-called Liberation Day, when he announced tariffs on the whole world, the rhetoric meter was through the roof. Trump accused other countries of raping and pillaging America. 15 days later, the meter has cooled down. He's been raising tariffs on China like a monopoly game. But that tit for tat could be ending. US President Trump has hinted that he wouldn't go higher than 245%.
Well, at a certain point, I don't want them to go higher because at a certain point, you make it where people don't buy. So I may not want to go higher, or I may not want to even go up to that level. I may want to go to less because, you know, you want people to buy. And at a certain point, people aren't going to buy.
Not just that, he's also looking for a deal. Trump claims that China has reached out to him for talks, and he says a deal could be struck in weeks. Listen to this.
Sorry, has he called you directly, President Xi, or reached out?
Well, you'd think it was pretty obvious that he has, but we will talk about that soon. It's not that important because, honestly, we're going to have a deal. I believe we're going to have a deal with China.
How much time do you think you have?
I would think over the next 3 or 4 weeks. I think maybe the whole thing could be concluded.
3 to 4 weeks. If Trump is serious, this is good news. But it also exposes his hand. Just think back to what he said leading up to the tariffs, that America had been ripped off, that America had to bring back jobs, that the trade deficit had to be wiped out. Can you strike a deal to solve these problems in 1 month? Logic says no. But Trump may not have an option. Investors and businesses are questioning his policy. Elon Musk is distancing himself. Foreign allies are looking for other options. So Trump is pretty much alone here. Not even his central bank is supporting this campaign. I'm talking about the US Federal Reserve, or the Fed as they call it. Its chair was appointed by Trump back in 2018. His name is Jerome Powell. Now, Powell is not a fan of these tariffs. He says it will raise inflation and slow down growth.
Unemployment is likely to go up as the economy slows in all likelihood, and inflation is likely to go up as tariffs find their way, and some part of those tariffs come to be paid by the public. So that's the strong likelihood.
Powell was also asked about the stock markets. Would he intervene if they collapse too much? The answer was a resounding no. Needless to say, Trump is angry about this. He wants the Fed to lower the interest rates. Only then will Americans get cheaper loans. Only then can they spend freely. But Jerome Powell is in no mood to do that. He is expecting inflation to rise. So the last thing on his mind is a rate cut. Where does that leave Donald Trump? First, he lashed out on social media. He said Powell's termination cannot come fast enough. His plan is to ask the Fed chief to resign.
You've said that the termination of Jerome Powell cannot come fast enough. He says he won't leave even if you ask him to.
Oh, he'll leave. If I ask him to, he'll be out of there. I don't think he's doing the job. He's too late, always too late, a little slow, and I'm not happy with him. I let him know it, and if I want him out, he'll be out of there real fast, believe me.
Just one problem, though. Jerome Powell is not planning to resign. After Trump won in November, he was specifically asked about this. Would he step aside if Trump asked him to? Listen to the response.
Some of the president-elect's advisors have suggested that you should resign. If he asked you to leave, would you go?
No.
Can you follow up on, do you think that legally you're not required to leave?
No.
So it's a stalemate. Trump wants Jerome Powell to leave, but the Fed chief has no intention of doing so. Then what can Trump do? Can the president simply fire him? Many American legal scholars are debating this. They agree that it's a gray, untested area. And there is a reason why. No US president has tried to fire the Fed chief before. It's a well-established norm. Central banks operate independently. The government will not interfere in their decision-making. And this isn't just true for America, it's true for most democracies. So the idea itself is risky and dangerous. It would undermine confidence in the US economy. Nonetheless, let's look at the legality of it. The US Central Bank is governed by the Federal Reserve Act. It does allow governors and board members to be fired, but only with cause. And what qualifies as a cause? Misconduct or incapacity. Policy disagreements do not qualify. So Trump's move is unlikely to hold up in a court of law, plus the Fed's independence has bipartisan support. Even some Republicans may not support such a move to fire the Fed chief. Another option is to demote Jerome Powell. You see, the Fed has 7 board members. They're all nominated by the president for 14 years. The Fed chair is also a board member. So some scholars say that Trump could demote Powell, basically strip the chairmanship, but keep him as a member. Again, this is uncharted territory. The final decision will likely be taken by the Supreme Court of the US. In fact, the court is hearing a similar case right now. Like the Fed, there are dozens of independent agencies in the US government, and President Trump has asked the court whether he can fire them. Old precedent says he cannot, not unless there is misconduct or incapacity. But let's see if the court sets a new precedent. And if they do, it could boost Trump's case. The question is, at what cost? The US Fed is the most important central bank in the world. Other central banks and bankers take cues from the Fed. It is also the custodian of gold reserves belonging to dozens of countries. So the Fed's independence is a cornerstone of the US economy. You take that out, the whole house could collapse.
Greeting you with aloha and namaste.
I love India.
Presence, occupation of a territory by another country pertains to India, what we saw in Kashmir.
How do you see Trump's America?
Yes, the current administration behaves differently from the previous administration.
Are you saying that there are foreign powers who are trying to bring down the current government in Syria?
Exactly.
Bluntly, Iran, maybe Russia too.
Prime Minister Modi committed to South-South, cooperation.
Not over 50%.
Is Ukraine prepared to pay the price for that peace?
No compromises at the cost of territorial integrity and sovereignty.